Well, hey everyone, welcome to another episode of C4C Minecraft. Looks like we have some visitors stuck in our little studio intro box here. We got Admiral Curse and Hannabear 4300. They're hamming it up for the camera. So, welcome on board to the video, guys. I have a lot in store today, so I'm going to get to it. And I will be doing some builds and so forth. So say goodbye to them for the time being, unless they follow us around, and we'll get back into business. All right, well, on today's docket is a little bit of work. I had to get my bamboo farm going again, and somebody put a bunch of wooden planks into my auto furnace and kind of broke it because somebody needed to cook some glass, well, we ended up with some charcoal and some stone in there, and the planks kind of gummed up the work. So if you're using the auto furnace, it only can take items that are smeltable. All right, somebody's sneaking around here. All right, we're going to head up here, and we're going to grab some materials. I'm going to grab us some stone, and I do believe I have a stone cutter somewhere. All right, looks like I have a tail today. Two tails of this city. And so what we're going to do, we've been working hard on that arc out there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work on spawn proofing the tunnel to the arc here, which I know isn't terribly exciting, but when you build rails and so forth, you really need to have that protected so you don't have a lot of critters spawning in your tunnels. So that's what we're going to get to today. I'm going to do a little bit of prep work here because I grabbed all that stone, but we need to make slabs. So I'm going to convert a lot of these into plain slabs. And I'm going to convert a number of them into these stone slabs because I like to mix up the design a little bit. So let's see here. I'm just going to do about half of that in that, and about half of that in the other. And looks like somebody gave me a gift of a minecart. So I'm going to drop that there. And it looks like I don't have enough inventory, so let's see what we can get rid of here. We'll get rid of some of that bamboo, and I don't want to get rid of too much else, but we'll go collect those stones. All right, so the secret to doing all of this is to replace them with slabs. So I'm going to just do some basic breaking here, and doggone it if my pick is just too powerful for what I'm trying to do here. But what I want to do in the case of the stairs is actually add stairs, and I didn't make myself any stairs, so we're going to have to fix that. I think I've just run out of inventory space is my main problem here. So I don't really have much of a chest here. I can throw a few items in my ender chest here, and we'll grab onto some stairs, and I like the stone brick stairs, so we're going to do that. Invalid operation. Well, I am trying to run with shaders today. They are not quite working as I would prefer, but that's okay. Okay, so now we have the stairs up to the next level, but we do not want to use regular blocks here because what happens is anything that's got a flat surface up at the top that's even with the top of a regular block, mobs can spawn on, and we don't want that. So I'm going to just kind of alternate these as we go, and I'm not going to worry about what's down inside there. There we go. I'm going to replace this with, let's see, a plain block or a plain slab. And I said I was going to use stairs, didn't I? And I think my shaders are going to give me a number of errors today. Let me get those. I shouldn't need an axe, so I'm just going to swap that out there. Boom. Boom. I'm just going to waste one there. And I should just go, usually I don't do this. I'll just break a few of them out here so I can just place a few in succession. There we go. I'll knock out a few more. Looks like I lost my tails. I think some of my work here is probably not too exciting for some of these advanced players that we have. I'm going to break that out. Let's see here. We're going to have a slab and a block. Now, because this space is open, we're likely going to have some kind of mobs out here. So the smart thing to do would be to build up some kind of a structure around this. For today, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to run with what we have. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in these gaps here because that just doesn't look professional. There we go. And I'm going to open this up. And we're just going to kind of move forward. Now, what I've discovered is that I run into the mistake of digging over lava or gaps. And usually what's down below the gaps is a nice long fall, especially in the nether, or a fall into lava, which we do not want. So that's very critical to pay attention. Now you'll notice that in my inventory here, I have a potion of fire resistance, and I'd like to give a shout out to JFace out there for making that possible. Those have come in handy on a number of occasions, and I know that if I fall into lava, I can just switch over to my inventory, get that in the hotbar, and have a good drink of that, and then I can swim around for a good while. You saw that it was 8 minutes, so if you are doing much in the nether, I would strongly recommend you carry a potion of fire resistance. So you get the idea. Oh boy, we got a lot to cover here. So I'm going to swap out these slabs with the ones we already have. And I didn't realize how far I went. It's amazing how fast you can go with those high efficiency type tools. Going to have a bite of carrot here. Okay. And what I'll want to do here is actually put a stair in, because if I put a block as such, then I have to jump to this first stair, and I don't want to do that. Be careful I don't break too much. So I'm going to put stairs here. And then, because this is a stone stair, I'm going to kind of trade off, and I'll do every other one. And with practice, and obviously I am not doing, oh boy, I filled that up again. With practice, you can skip every other one. I'm still not an expert at that, and I end up having to go and replace those, or remove them. So I think you get the idea of how this works. But you can see with a little practice, you can actually get this going pretty quickly, except for mistakes. So now I have every other one, and now there's a couple ways we can do this. I find that just walking at normal speed and just anticipating where those gaps are, I can fill those in. Now you may be wondering, why not just fill them all up with the same block? Well, we certainly can do that, and that is definitely easier to do. However, I discover that it's not visually appealing to have the same blocks over and over again. And whoops, I placed one where I shouldn't. Whoops, all right, that's okay. I'm not going to try to salvage it for one block. It's just nice to have a nice visual difference as you go down. It kind of breaks up the monotony of what you're seeing, because you're already seeing lots and lots of netherrack, and that is, well, that's not an appealing texture there. So now if I decide that I don't, or if I forget a minecart, or if I just don't have the option, or something happens along the way, I don't have to worry about the mobs, and I can just run along here and head right on up the stairs without any issues, because it saves a lot of jumping. So Looks like we have Dashed Sand just joined the server. Hopefully she's going to have a good time in here. And I'm going to replace this stair, because it's kind of sticking up over the edge there, with another block, just a plain slab there. So now you can see that that's a nice smooth transition. Now, I did mention that I have a block stairs here and a regular slab here. What I like to do is I like to alternate these textures. So it just adds that much more to the aesthetic. Looks like we got a little in-game chat going on already. So instead of putting a regular slab here, I'm going to put a stone slab on this side, and then I'll alternate that. And you can do it this way, but I don't have the patience for all that switching it up. So I will probably do what I did previously. There we go. And I'm not going to force you to watch my entire spawn proofing project because it gets kind of monotonous and repetitive, but hopefully what I've shown you so far is a benefit to you, and will show you my thought process at least on how to make this happen and how to spawn proof your tunnels if you so choose to do them in this way. I know that a lot of our younger players and beginner players utilize these rails extensively while traveling around the game. We have some advanced players that like a little more privacy and so forth. And so they tend to set up shop. Uh-oh, and look what we have there. Definitely a problem. Some of those advanced players set up shop in more far-reaching parts of the server. So having these rails here really helps. And when the beginners can travel these distances without running into mobs, that is a benefit to them. Oh boy, see what I told you? I wasn't paying attention and now I've got trouble. Well, I hate to, but they just won't let me be. So I'm going to give them a chance to come back. Well, look at how far I fell. Well, if you'll notice, I have a nice set of Feather Falling 4 boots. So I didn't take too much damage during all of that, but my problem is I now have to dig up to get back to where I was. So, like I said, I have to be careful in the nether. And it's another reason why getting these rails set up is so important for the younger players. It allows them to be more autonomous. It's akin to giving somebody a driver's license. Well, I'll get the right tool out there. So I think I'm just gonna stack myself up here. And I have to figure out where I fell through. I'm not sure exactly where I fell through. I want to say that this was open in this area. Because I remember being able to see the glowstone. Uh-oh, that's another problem. Okay. That's embarrassing as well, because I just managed to dig into lava, and I'm going to take some damage for that. So, unfortunately, all of my armor has so far... Uh-oh, I see. This is actually helping me out. Aha, look at that. I found my way through. Okay. All right, well, we're going to have to patch up this little disaster here. That was totally avoidable. And after I even warned about the dangers of traveling, I still managed to get myself caught in a trap. And I think I'm going to blame it on my trying to film a video. That's what I'll say. Even advanced players make mistakes from time to time. So I'm going to just be careful as I go along here. And it looks like my friends kind of showed up too. But I'm going to go ahead and clear all of this out. And at the end of this project, I will show you what we've been working on the Ark. The last episode, it was just a frame. And that frame has been filled in quite a bit. And maybe at some point we'll do an episode on how to get that netherite, because that stuff is handy. And since we're talking about piglins, it'll definitely save your bacon. See, this is why we spawn-proof our rail system through the nether. We don't need this kind of danger as we're just traveling from place to place peacefully and quietly. We don't need that kind of drama. And I know specifically one of our players doesn't want to go see the Ark because of that very, very thing. This is the unexciting part of Minecraft, when you're just mindlessly digging or laying blocks. But it's all for a good cause, because at some point this rail system will be a nice, safe method of travel. We're gonna just finish this out. I really don't bother the Zoglins if I don't need to. They will leave me alone, and I will leave them alone. Now I know that is not terribly exciting, but as you can see, apart from the Zoglin that spawned in there and the piglin that was in there, we are now spawn-proofed in our tunnel. This is awesome. So, when we take a ride on this, or when any player takes a ride on this, they will have a free ride all the way down here and have no issues. Now, as I promised, we are now going to take a look at that Ark. So let's go on through the portal. Hey, it's daytime. All right. Oh, and look what our player group has done. Oh boy, they've even got a saddle on that happy ghast. We have sheep. Oh yeah, keep the sheep away from the dogs. That's a good idea. We have horses and donkeys. and mules. We got pandas, and we have llamas, and we have chickens and pigs, and there are goats down here because apparently they're troublemakers and they just have to be kept in seclusion. We've got our cows, we got more cows, we got other cows, orange cows and brown cows, and we have lots and lots of dogs. And apparently the dogs just can't get along with anybody. Can't keep them near the polar bears, the sheep, the foxes, the rabbits, or the llamas. Boy, they're just trouble. All right, over here we have the different colored pigs, and well, I was going to say there might be fish in there, but oh well. Okay, and then we have frogs, and we've got armadillos, and we've got cats. We've got, oh, and there's camels in here too, and a happy guest. I do not think Noah's Ark actually had a happy guest in it, but, and I see some other kind of storage unit here. Oh, look at all of the ocelots and parrots. And I would imagine that we probably have some foxes somewhere, but look at all the work that our crew has done. We got the, oh yeah, the polar bears over here. Boy, they just don't get along. But I can imagine that was a legit thing on the Ark with the animals that didn't want to play with each other. Okay, now that we have a whole day to explore, let's take a look at what we have done up here. Oh boy. It is in the process. We've made a lot of progress. There have been many, many shulkers full of spruce logs and planks that we have used to build this ark. And just look at this thing. Still a ways to go. We got to get the bow done and the stern done. And we have a few logs to fill in the gaps here, which might be a bit of a challenge, but that's okay. I want to thank Tiffa Tuffa for helping with the build of the Ark. And a big shout out to JoWiBro. We are using their Ark design to help us build this giant ark. Just look at how far it stretches out there in both directions. It is absolutely humongous. And we're going to drop down inside and start at the bottom deck. And you can see just how tall it is in here, but look at the structure in here. Look at the massive amount of wood that we have used. And remember, this is all in Survivor, so all of these logs were hand chopped somewhere in a forest somewhere. Now, like I said, we're only partway done, so a lot of these spaces will be filled with cages, and we'll have storage. This is the stern of the ship. We haven't finished this part of it yet. We're kind of in the research phase. There's going to be some moon pools back here and some stairs to connect the different decks. But we have openings all the way to the rooftop. Every so often we can see up in there. And you can see we just keep going and going and going, and the boat just keeps going. It is humongous. All right, let's jump up to the second deck, the middle deck. You can see we have a crafting table here to help us build. And again, it just goes off in both directions. And just look at the volume of wood. The outside walls, the structure on the inside. We are working on reconfiguring these roof pieces to look more like the Ark itself would have looked. And it looks like we have some players heading off to Jericho to play hide and seek again. So this middle deck will have a different set of cages and pens and so forth. And we'll keep decorating this up. And then let's go up to the upper deck. Here we go. This one's a little more open because we have the roof up there. And of course there's the holes or windows, if you want to call it that, so that light can pour in. And up here, we'll have the living quarters because Noah and his wife and his 3 sons and their wives all needed a place to stay. And Noah and the group was in the ark for about a year. So they had to have all kinds of storage. I'm going to throw a little torch over here. There we go. So there was all kinds of food storage, and they had to have water, they had to be able to feed the animals and so forth. It's just a lot of planning for a big trip like that with all those animals on board. You can see that we've gone through shulker after shulker. This used to be completely full of spruce logs, as did this one. And this one had spruce logs in it, and then I filled it with scaffolding because we're going to have to be using scaffolding more and more. But as you can see, let me just throw on my elytra, and we'll put some rockets into my hotbar here, and we will just fly out here and get the bird's eye view of this massive vessel. Just look at that thing. It is just huge. And we'll strip the bark off of those logs, and we'll come around for another pass. Just look at the massive scope. The scale is just immense. I don't know how far in I can sail, but right to midships there. Look at that. Anyway, we're very proud of this project. We have a long way to go, lots of detail. The ship itself isn't completed as far as the hull and so forth. But as you can see, just since episode 3, we have made massive strides toward completing this project. So it looks like I'm about to the end of my time here today. So I want to thank you so much for joining. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode where we'll have some more of this arc done, and well, we'll just highlight a little bit more of what's going on the C4C Minecraft server. Until next time, this is Badgerfish71 saying, have fun out there.